The judge looked down at the 17-year-old standing before him. Baggy jeans, worn out shoes, hands trembling. The judge smirked. You'll never amount to anything, kid. 23 years later, that same judge would stand in that same courtroom. But this time, he wasn't the one wearing the robe. This is Civil Rights Raw, where we tell the stories that prove revenge isn't always cold. Sometimes, it's served in a black robe, behind a gavel, with the word honorable in front of your name. This is the true story of Marcus Thompson, the boy who was told he'd never be anything, and the man who became everything. Marcus Thompson was 17 years old when he walked into that courtroom for the first time. He wasn't a criminal, wasn't violent, wasn't dangerous. He'd been caught with a fake ID trying to get into a nightclub. Stupid teenage mistake, the kind thousands of kids make. But Marcus was black and poor and standing in front of Judge Richard Kellerman. Judge Kellerman had a reputation, the kind whispered about in waiting rooms and prison cells. He was harsh, cold, and especially brutal to young black defendants. When Marcus stepped up to the podium, his public defender barely glanced at him. These cases moved fast. Plead guilty, pay a fine, move on. But Judge Kellerman wasn't interested in moving on. He leaned forward, stared Marcus down like he was examining an insect. Mr. Thompson, the judge said slowly, do you have anything to say for yourself? Marcus opened his mouth. His voice cracked. Your Honor, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I'm trying to do better. I'm in school. I'm working part-time. I just... Stop. The judge cut him off with one word. Let me tell you something, son. The judge's voice dripped with condescension. I see kids like you every single day. Same excuses, same story. You think you're special? Marcus said nothing. His jaw clenched. You're not going anywhere in life. The judge leaned back in his chair, almost amused. Look at you. You can't even dress properly for court. You'll be back here in 6 months, maybe for something worse. People in the gallery shifted uncomfortably. Even the prosecutor looked down, but Judge Kellerman wasn't done. I'm giving you probation, but mark my words, you'll end up in prison. Or worse. Kids like you always do. Marcus stood frozen. His hands were shaking, not from fear anymore, from rage. He wanted to scream, to fight back, to tell this man exactly what he thought of him. But he didn't. He just nodded, walked out of that courtroom with his head down, and made a promise to himself. He would prove that judge wrong, no matter what it took. Marcus left that courtroom a different person. He finished high school. Not just finished, graduated at the top of his class. While his friends were hanging out, Marcus was in the library, studying, reading, preparing. He applied to college, got rejected, applied again, got rejected again. But on his 7th application, he got in, full scholarship to Temple University. People told him to major in something practical, business, accounting, something safe. But Marcus knew exactly what he wanted to study, pre-law. He wanted to become a lawyer, then a judge. He wanted to sit where Judge Kellerman sat, and he wanted to be everything that man wasn't. College wasn't easy. Marcus worked 2 jobs, slept 4 hours a night, lived off ramen and coffee, but he made it. Then came law school. 3 years of hell, reading until his eyes burned, writing until his hands cramped, competing with people who'd had every advantage he didn't. But Marcus had something they didn't, a reason. He graduated, passed the bar exam on his first try. At 26 years old, Marcus Thompson became a lawyer, and for the first time since that courtroom, he smiled. But he wasn't done yet, not even close. Marcus spent the next 15 years doing something radical. He actually gave a damn. He worked as a public defender, the same kind of lawyer who barely looked at him when he was 17. But Marcus, he looked at every client, learned their names, fought for them like they mattered, because they did. He defended teenagers who made the same mistakes he made, kids who were told they'd never amount to anything. And he won, case after case after case. Marcus became known, respected, the kind of lawyer people asked for by name. Judges noticed him, community leaders noticed him, politicians noticed him, and then in 2019, something happened. A judge in Philadelphia retired, the position opened up, Marcus applied. He went through interviews, background checks, evaluations, and on a cold morning in November, he got the call. Congratulations, Mr. Thompson. You've been appointed to the bench. Marcus hung up the phone and cried. Not sad tears, not happy tears. Just release. 23 years, thousands of hours, countless sacrifices. He'd done it. He was a judge. But the story doesn't end there, because 3 weeks later, Marcus walked into his new courtroom for the first time. He put on the black robe, sat in the chair, looked out at the gallery and saw a face he never thought he'd see again. Judge Richard Kellerman, older, grayer, retired now, but sitting in the back row, watching. Marcus froze. For just a second, he was 17 again, standing at that podium, being told he'd never be anything. But then he looked down, at the gavel in his hand, at the robe on his shoulders, at the nameplate on his desk, the Honorable Marcus Thompson. After the session ended, Marcus stepped down from the bench, walked to the back of the courtroom. Kellerman stood up, extended his hand. "Congratulations, Your Honor," he said. His voice was different now, smaller, almost ashamed. Marcus didn't take his hand, not out of cruelty, not out of revenge. He just looked at him. "Do you remember me?" Marcus asked quietly. Kellerman blinked, confused. 1998, fake ID case. You told me I'd never amount to anything. Kellerman's face went pale. You told me kids like me always end up in prison, or worse. I just wanted you to know you were wrong. Marcus turned, walked back to his chambers, and never spoke to Richard Kellerman again. So what's the lesson here? Is it revenge? Is it proving people wrong? Maybe, but I think it's something deeper. Marcus didn't become a judge to humiliate Richard Kellerman. He became a judge to make sure no other 17-year-old kid would stand in a courtroom and be told they're worthless. He became a judge to be the person he needed when he was young. That's not revenge. That's justice. Today, Judge Marcus Thompson still serves on the bench in Philadelphia. He's known for being tough but fair, for seeing people, really seeing them, before he makes a decision. And every time a scared teenager stands at that podium, he remembers what it felt like, and he gives them what Richard Kellerman never gave him, a chance, because that's what real power looks like, not putting people down, lifting them up. This is Civil Rights Raw. If this story moved you, hit subscribe, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment below. What would you have said to Judge Kellerman if you were in Marcus's shoes? Next, we've got another story that'll blow your mind. See you then.